Hey, I'm Marco. I'm a former opera singer turned voice actor. Today I'm going to be listening to Mohg, Lord of Blood, because some of y'all want this intense I haven't gotten to Mohg, Lord of Blood. I probably never will, if I'm honest with you. Lego Star Wars came out. I'm gonna play that because I want to chill in the evenings. This is a blind react. I've never heard this piece, but it is probably the most requested piece in the Elden Ring world, and here we go. Harpsichord? You hear that? What's the harpsichord doing in this? It's a throwback to a different time. How cool is that the men are in their lower range, kind of like a Gregorian chant, kind of like a typical quintessential you hear. Obviously, it's a melody. How cool is that the men are down there kind of supporting this sort of this omnipotent being, and this is sort of like elevating everything from beneath. And the men are not singing very far apart, and the tenors, it sounded almost like they were in octaves, which octaves are basically the same note but one level higher. It's an eighth above. Anyway, sounds like they're in octaves. Wow. You definitely get evil from this, huh? Pretty evil. This reminds me of Sephra. Sephiroth. Ooh. nasty. That's like the epitome of evil. I love it. Also note that the female chorus is not in there that much. The female chorus is used as an accent to that, and it's mostly men. And I'm finding that men in video game music are usually used for brooding purposes. Rarely do you hear men when it comes to like sad emotions, for sadness or for expressing themselves. Usually, men in video game music are there for this exact situation, to impose fear, or to impose masculinity and dominance. And man, that's high. What's crazy about singing, that sounds perfectly like cool. That sounds really badass. But the actual act of singing, of listening to the tenor part, because that's what I am, listening to the tenor part, these guys are ripping. They're peeling the paint off the wall. I mean, it's like insanely like wild. And also, this is so difficult to sustain. There's something interesting about choral music. It's very hard over time to sing the same, because there's something called the tessitura, which is where something sits in the voice or where something is written. And oftentimes choral pieces, because the tenor voice, I'm speaking specifically the tenor voice because that's what I know. The tenor voice sits in the middle, and usually things that are written, they're written between C and A, but in this case, they probably go up to B flats, which again, if you watch some of my previous videos, B flats are the money note for tenors. They're not in choral music. It's written often where you'll go up there, but like it really is a special note that you shouldn't always be hanging up there with. And sometimes when you hear this music like this, these guys are ripping, like I said, ripping the paint off the wall, because this is so difficult, and you get tighter and your larynx goes higher and higher and higher. And it's hard to stay relaxed and in your body and breathing correctly, because there's so much tension that creeps in. It's different with the basses, because the basses kind of are always hanging down here. And the sopranos and the altos are using head voice, so it's a different vibe. But the tenors, it's hard. This stuff is hard. But man, does it sound cool. Yeah, this, I haven't seen a picture at all. I mean, of course, Mohg, Lord of Blood. I mean, how happy can that guy be? Not very, I'm sure. He probably like spits blood at you and scarlet rot and whatever else. And, you definitely get the vibe that perhaps this character is actually is gatekeeping one of the other villains. He essentially is probably blocking you from getting to where you want to go next. I mean, this track is so intense. It's a lot of these Elden Ring pieces are not pieces that you necessarily be like, hey, babe, why don't you check out Mohg, Lord of Blood? Hang on. Yeah, I don't think anybody's doing that. If you are, kudos to you. You don't necessarily listen to this music in the car. Although it is really fun, by the way, if you ever do this, like turn this up in your car, just crank it and just see how many looks you get. We used to do that all the time with Ariadne off Naxos. It's such a beautiful piece of music. We'd be driving around, me and my buddy, and we'd be driving around and just blasting this music. And we're like, it's your cultural appreciation. And as we know, video game music is classical music. And let the people hear it. Let the people know that Mohg, Lord of Blood, is worth their time. So, anyway, as always, this is a blast. What a crazy, crazy soundtrack. And what powerful music that really just elevates these characters to a whole nother level. I mean, it's just so incredibly powerful and intense and violent. And isn't it amazing, by the way, that classical music, while still being delicate, it can come together and actually create a violent soundscape. And we don't need imagery to elicit a sense of violence. It's a really, really, really interesting thing that classical music can do, that if we allow ourselves to have a picture painted, we know that this sounds like not happy, but it's incredible how music can make us feel violence and hear violence. And we don't necessarily have to see it in order to understand it. And when we allow ourselves to really step into the music and allow the music to sort of overtake us, we can really step into a different reality. And it's really, really, really powerful stuff. So I would encourage you with any music that you like to really let the soundscape wash over you. Because yes, Mohg, Lord of Blood, is a killer, I guess in this case literally, but is a kick-ass piece of music. There are so many others that can heal you and jazz you up. Put this on at the gym. Watch yourself pump and shred, because I'm sure you will. You know what I mean? Like, it's a neat piece, and a powerful one at that too, and violent and visceral and raw and evil. Yeah, it's incredible how music can elevate something. I already know that Mohg, Lord of Blood, is not going to be a super nice guy, not just because of his name, but because listen to the music. So, anyway. Alrighty, I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.